What if the reason fasting isn't working for you has nothing to do with discipline, not your willpower, not your consistency, not even the number of hours you're fasting? Because right now, there are thousands of people doing everything right, skipping breakfast, pushing through hunger, drinking only water or black coffee, and still not seeing results. The weight doesn't drop, the energy doesn't improve, and that frustrating question starts to grow louder every day. Why is this not working for me? But here's what most people never hear: fasting is not just about when you eat, it's about what your body believes is happening while you're not eating. And if your body misreads that signal, everything changes. You could be fasting for 16 hours and even 18 and still be stuck in the exact same place. Let's start with something that almost no one talks about. Your body is not a clock. It doesn't care that it's been 12 hours since your last meal. It doesn't count time the way you do. What it responds to is signals, hormonal signals, stress signals, safety signals. And if those signals are off, your body can literally behave as if you're not fasting at all. Imagine this: two people stop eating at the same time, same hours, same protocol, but one of them is calm, regulated, and metabolically flexible. The other is stressed, underslept, constantly checking the clock, fighting hunger like a battle. On the surface, they look identical, but internally, their bodies are in completely different states. One is in fat burning mode, the other is in survival mode. And this is where things start to break down for most people because when your body senses stress, real or perceived, it activates a very specific response. It protects you, it slows things down, it holds onto energy instead of releasing it. And suddenly, fasting stops feeling like a tool and starts feeling like a fight you can't win. You might notice this in subtle ways. You feel more tired instead of energized. Your cravings get stronger, not weaker. You think about food more than ever. And when you finally eat, you don't feel satisfied. You feel out of control, like your body is trying to catch up on something it thinks it's missing. Now, here's the part that changes everything. There is one mistake that quietly sabotages fasting for a huge number of people, and most of them have no idea they're doing it. It doesn't look like a mistake. In fact, it often looks like discipline. It looks like pushing harder, extending the fasting window, ignoring the signals your body is sending you. But that one decision can completely shut down the very benefits you're trying to get from fasting in the first place. And we're going to break that down step by step. Because once you understand what your body is actually responding to, you'll see why fasting has been working for some people effortlessly, while for others, it feels like nothing changes no matter how hard they try. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what to adjust without needing to fast longer, suffer more, or rely on extreme routines that are impossible to maintain. But before we get into that, Uriel, there's one question you need to ask yourself. When you fast, what does it feel like in your body? Not what you think it should feel like, but what it actually feels like. Because that answer might already be revealing the real reason it's not working. And most people miss it completely. Now, let's talk about the mistake that quietly ruins fasting for so many people, even the ones who are the most disciplined. And it's this: you're forcing your body to fast while it's already under stress. And the problem is, your body doesn't separate those things. It doesn't say, this is fasting, this is life stress. It only asks one question: am I safe right now? And if the answer is no, everything shifts. Because from a biological standpoint, fasting is only beneficial when your body feels safe enough to let go. Let go of stored energy, let go of fat, let go of excess. But if your system detects stress, it does the opposite. It holds on. Think about what your typical day looks like. You wake up already a little tired. Maybe your sleep wasn't great. You skip breakfast because you're trying to stay consistent with your fasting window. You grab coffee, maybe more than one. Your day starts moving fast. Messages, responsibilities, decisions. Your brain is constantly engaged. Your body is constantly reacting. And underneath all of that, your stress hormones are slowly rising. Not in a dramatic way. Not enough for you to stop everything, just enough to keep your body slightly on edge. Now add fasting on top of that. No incoming energy, no break, no signal of replenishment. And suddenly your body starts interpreting the situation very differently. Instead of thinking, we're fasting, let's burn stored fat, your body starts thinking, resources are limited and something feels off and we need to conserve. And when that switch happens, fat loss slows down, energy drops, and your hunger signals become louder, more urgent, more difficult to ignore. This is why some people feel amazing during fasting: clear, focused, light, while others feel irritable, tired, and obsessed with food. It's not because one person is stronger, it's because one person's body feels safe and the other one doesn't. There was a study that observed how the body reacts under combined stress and caloric restriction. And what they found was something most people don't expect. When stress is high, the body becomes less efficient at using stored fat as fuel. It prioritizes immediate survival over long term optimization. In simple terms, your body would rather keep the fat than risk running out of energy in a moment it perceives as unstable. And this is happening silently without you even realizing it. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The same behavior that you think is helping you might actually be reinforcing the problem. Extending your fasting window when you're already struggling, ignoring hunger completely, pushing through fatigue, telling yourself you just need more discipline. But from your body's perspective, that doesn't look like discipline. It looks like pressure. And pressure, when it's constant, keeps your system locked in that protective mode. So instead of unlocking fat burning, you're unintentionally telling your body to hold on tighter. And the longer you stay in that cycle, the more frustrating fasting becomes. Because now it's not just about results, it's about how it feels. And if fasting feels like a constant fight, your body is already telling you something important. The problem is, most people don't listen. They double down, they push harder. And that's exactly what keeps them stuck. But here's the shift that changes everything. What if fasting isn't about pushing your body, but about working with it? What if the goal isn't to extend the window as much as possible, but to create the right internal environment for your body to actually respond the way it's supposed to? Because when that environment is right, fasting becomes easier. Hunger becomes quieter, energy becomes more stable, and results start to show up without that constant feeling of struggle. And in the next part, we're going to break down exactly how to recognize if your body is in that protective mode and the simple adjustments that can bring it back into a state where fasting actually works the way it's supposed to. So, how do you know if your body is in that protective mode instead of the fat burning state you've been trying to reach? Because this is where everything becomes clear. Your body is always giving you feedback. The problem is, most people are looking for the wrong signals. They focus only on the scale, the weight, the hours fasted. But the real indicators are much more subtle and much more revealing. Let's start with the first one: your energy throughout the day. Not the kind that comes from caffeine, but your natural energy. When fasting is working the way it should, your energy tends to feel stable. You don't crash mid-morning. You don't feel like you're dragging yourself through the afternoon. There's a certain lightness, a clarity. But when your body is in protective mode, the opposite happens. You feel heavy, slower, your focus drifts. You find yourself thinking about food more often, not less. And that's not a lack of discipline. That's your body asking for relief. The second signal is your relationship with hunger. This one is crucial because hunger during fasting isn't supposed to feel like an emergency. It comes in waves, it rises, and then it fades. But when your body feels unsafe, hunger changes. It becomes sharp, persistent, almost urgent. It doesn't fade, it builds. And when you finally eat, it's not calm or controlled. It feels reactive, like something inside you is trying to recover quickly. That's a sign your body has been in a state of tension, not balance. Now pay attention to this one because most people overlook it completely: your sleep. When fasting is aligned with your body, your sleep tends to stay stable, sometimes even improve. But if you're waking up in the middle of the night, especially feeling alert, restless, or with your mind racing, that's often a sign that your stress response is still active. Your body hasn't fully switched off. It's still in that semi-alert state, scanning, conserving, protecting. And that directly affects how your body uses energy the next day. And then there's something even more subtle: your mood. Not just whether you feel good or bad, but your baseline state. Do you feel calm or slightly on edge? Do small things irritate you more than usual? Do you feel less patient, less grounded? Because your nervous system doesn't separate emotions from physiology. If your system is under pressure, your mood reflects it. And that same internal pressure is what keeps your body from fully entering that fat burning state. Now, here's the moment that most people miss. If you recognize yourself in these signs, the instinct is to push harder, to extend the fast, to fix it with more discipline. But that's exactly what deepens the problem, because you're trying to solve a stress signal with more stress. And your body doesn't respond to pressure by letting go. It responds by tightening control. So instead of asking, how can I fast longer? The better question becomes, how can I make my body feel safe enough to let go? Because that's the real mechanism behind why fasting works. Not the hours, not the rules, but the internal state your body's operating in. And once you shift that, everything starts to change. Fasting becomes something your body cooperates with instead of something it resists. Hunger softens, energy stabilizes, and results begin to show up in a way that feels almost effortless compared to what you've been experiencing. In the next part, we're going to break down exactly what to adjust, the simple, practical shifts that can move your body out of that protective mode, and finally allow fasting to work the way it was always meant to. Now, let's talk about what actually shifts your body out of that protective mode, because this is where most people finally start to see real change. And the first thing you need to understand is this: you don't need to fast longer, you need to fast smarter. Because your body doesn't reward extremes, it responds to signals, and the goal is to send the right ones. The first adjustment is something simple but incredibly powerful: how you break your fast. Most people treat the end of a fast like a reward. They're hungry, they've been waiting, and when they finally eat, it's fast, it's large, and it's usually a mix of whatever is available. But from your body's perspective, that moment sets the tone for everything that follows. If you break your fast with a spike, something highly processed, high in sugar, or even just too much food too quickly, your body shifts into a reactive state. Blood sugar rises fast, then drops. Hunger returns sooner. Energy becomes unstable, and the next fasting window becomes harder, not easier. Now compare that to a different approach. You break your fast slowly. You start with something that signals safety and nourishment: protein, healthy fats, something that doesn't shock your system. You give your body a moment to respond. And what happens is completely different. Your energy stabilizes, your hunger stays controlled, and your body starts to trust that it's not in a state of scarcity. That one shift alone can change how your body responds to fasting more than adding extra hours ever will. The second adjustment is something most people resist at first, but it's often the missing piece. Shorten your fasting window. Not permanently, but strategically. If your body has been stuck in that stressed protective mode, the fastest way out is not to push harder. It's to reduce pressure. Going from 18 hours to 14, or even 12 for a period of time, can allow your system to reset. And what surprises most people is this: when they return to a longer fast later, it suddenly feels easier, because now the body is cooperating, not resisting. The third shift is about something that has nothing to do with food, but affects everything: your nervous system. Because fasting doesn't happen in isolation, it happens inside your life. And if your baseline state is rushed, overstimulated, constantly reacting, your body carries that into the fast. Small things make a difference here: slowing down your mornings instead of immediately reaching for your phone, taking a few minutes before eating to actually sit, breathe, and relax. Even something as simple as walking without distraction. These aren't just nice habits, they are signals. Signals that tell your body it's safe. And when your body feels safe, it lets go. Now, here's something that most people never consider: consistency matters more than intensity. A moderate fasting routine that your body accepts will always outperform an extreme one that your body resists. Because over time, your system adapts to what feels sustainable. It becomes more efficient, more flexible. And that's when fasting starts to feel natural instead of forced. And this leads to a completely different experience. You stop watching the clock, you stop fighting hunger, you stop questioning whether it's working, because your body starts to show you through your energy, through your focus, through the way you feel day to day. And in the final part, we're going to bring all of this together, because there's one last piece that most people never fully understand. The real reason fasting works for some and not for others has nothing to do with the method itself. It has to do with the relationship between you and your body. And this is the part that changes how you see everything. Because at the end of the day, fasting isn't a strategy, it's a relationship between you and your body. And like any relationship, the results you get depend on how well you understand the signals being sent back and forth. Most people approach fasting like a set of rules: hours to follow, windows to respect, protocols to copy. And when it doesn't work, the assumption is simple: that I need to try harder. But what if that's the wrong approach entirely? What if the people who see results aren't the ones who push the hardest, but the ones who listen the closest? Because your body is not trying to resist you, it's trying to protect you. Every time your hunger intensifies, every time your energy drops, every time something feels off, that's not failure, that's feedback. And when you ignore that feedback and push anyway, you create friction. But when you adjust based on it, you create alignment. Think about the difference. One person forces themselves through every fast, watches the clock, counts the hours, feels like they're constantly trying to win a battle. The other pays attention, adjusts when needed, shortens the fast when their body is overwhelmed, eats in a way that supports stability instead of spikes, slows down when things feel off. On the surface, it might look like they're doing less, but internally, everything is working better. And that's the reason fasting seems almost effortless for some people, while others feel stuck no matter how hard they try. It's not about the method, it's about the state your body is in while you're using it. Now go back to that question from the beginning. When you fast, what does it actually feel like in your body? Because that answer is more important than any protocol you could follow. If it feels like a constant fight, your body is telling you something. If it feels stable, clear, and manageable, you're on the right track. And once you start paying attention to that, something shifts. You stop chasing extremes. You stop comparing your routine to everyone else's. and you start building something that actually works for you, something sustainable, something your body supports instead of resists. Because the goal was never just to fast longer, the goal was to create a state where your body is willing to let go. And when that happens, results stop feeling unpredictable. They start feeling natural. So if this made you rethink the way you've been approaching fasting, don't just change how long you fast, change how you listen. Because that might be the one shift that makes everything finally start working. And if you want more videos that break down what your body is really trying to tell you in a way that actually makes sense, make sure you subscribe.